Good day, everybody. I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. All right, so we are doing our grade 8, which is basically advanced writing lesson on sentences, fragments, and run ons. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, all right. So we said that we are doing grade 8 advanced writing English lesson on sentences, fragments, and run-ons. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. All right. So when it comes to sentences, fragments, and run-ons, right? So our chapter is sen- sentences, fragments, and run-ons. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 8, which is advanced writing. And then the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of sentences, fragments, and run ons. We need to say, is it a complete sentence or is it a fragment? And is it a complete sentence or a run on? That is going to be the lessons for today. So when it comes to a sentence, right? A sentence is a group of words that forms a complete thought. And a sentence has a subject and a sentence has a verb. So it expresses a complete thought. It has a subject and it has a verb. And if we look at an example, right, of a sentence, it says, my friends walk along the path. And our subject is my friends, and our verb is walk, or we can say walk along the path. And that is basically, that shows it is a complete sentence. That sentence has a, it has a subject and it has a verb. And then we have a sentence fragment. So if we have a sentence, right? If a sentence is it expresses a complete thought and a sentence has both subject and a verb, it has both. That makes a complete sentence. But now we have a sentence fragment. And a sentence fragment is a group of words that does not express a complete thought. So it doesn't express a complete thought. It is either missing a subject or it is missing a verb, but it's missing one of the two. Or we can even say it's missing a helping verb. And if we look at examples of a fragment, right? It says knows the answer. Knows the answer. Now we need to ask ourselves who knows the answer? Because it just says knows the answer. And that is basically a sentence fragment because it is missing a subject. It's not telling us who or what the sentence is about. And then if we look at another example, then it says the bright red car. And it says the bright red car. And that is a fragment because it does not have a verb. It's not telling us what the bright red car is doing. And then we have, it says, we skiing next week. We skiing next week. So we skiing next week. And if we were to select the word that is missing, then we can say the helping verb is missing. And when it comes to sentences, fragments, and run-ons, right? We said that a sentence, it expresses a complete thought. It has both subject and it has a verb, right? Which is your predicate. All right. And once again, we said when it comes to a sentence, all right. And we once again we said a fragment that's either missing the subject, or it's missing a verb, or it's even missing a helping verb. All right. All right, so we already went over what a sentence is, we went over what a fragment is. Now we're going to a run on sentence. And a run on sentence, right? A run on sentence is a sentence that it's almost like it's separated by two sentences. It's like we separate it into two sentences, but instead of writing it on its own, it is now these two sentences are written as one sentence. All right. And when it comes to fixing a run on sentence, right? Then a run on sentence, it is where we have two sentences in one sentence. And then we also have another one that says knocked, or I knocked on the door, it opened. And if we were to, let's say, to fix the run on sentence, And remember when we let's say for example we have a run-on sentence and we separate that and we want to make it into, you know, sentences that let's say that has a subject and it has a verb, right, without the run on of it, you know. And then it means that we can then start by separating that two sentences. So we can separate the two sentences. I prefer doing it like this. So you can fix your run-on sentence by rewriting it as a So we first fix it, and then we write the first sentence first by saying, I knocked on the door, period. Then the next sentence, capital letter, it opened, period. And then if it started raining, period, we ran inside, period. That is single sentences. Sentences that stands on its own. It has a subject and it has a verb. But now we can also fix a run-on sentence by rewriting it as a compound sentence. And a compound sentence is made up of two independent clauses that is joined by a comma as well as a coordinating conjunction such as and, but, or also. And if we look at an example of how we can write it as a compound sentence, then it says, I knocked on the door and it opened. There we have our coordinating conjunction. All right. Another way in which we can write a compound sentence is the last one, which says, it started raining. So, our coordinating conjunction, so we ran inside. And that is basically how you write it as a compound sentence. All right. And remember, when it comes to sentences, fragments, and run ons, a sentence is, again, basically, it has a subject, All right. All right. So when it comes to remember we said that when it comes to a sentence has a subject and has a verb. It has both, right? Then we have a fragment, and a fragment is either missing a subject, or it is missing a verb, or it's missing a helping verb. And then a run-on sentence, we said it is a sentence that is all right. All right, so now let's go to A plus students. Let's go to A plus students.ca, and we're going to just look at an activity, and then we're going on to our test. Hey, what's happening? All right, so we're going to the first one where we say, is it a complete sentence or is it a fragment, right? And remember, if we have a complete sentence, it needs to have a subject and it needs to have a verb in order for it to be a completed sentence. Here it says, Mimi replaced the broken fuse in the fuse box. Is that a sentence or is that a fragment? Mimi replaced the broken fuse in the fuse box. Is that a sentence or a fragment? And if you look at that sentence, it has a subject and it has a verb, so we can say it is a completed sentence. All right, so now let's go to outside. Let's go to our test. We're now going to say whether it is a completed sentence or if it's a fragment, right? So now look at the sentence. We need to say which one is a sentence fragment. And remember, a fragment is a sentence that is either missing a subject, or it's missing a verb, or it's missing a helping verb, right? So it says news reports alerted everyone in the area to the approaching tornado. Or is it option two, wiped the sweat from her brow after spitting across the finish line? We need to select the sentence fragment. Is it option one or option two? So option one or option two, we need to say which one is a sentence fragment. And if we were to select the fragment, the sentence fragment within that sentence, then we'll go with option true. It says wipe the sweat. It doesn't say who wiped the sweat from their brow. And that is a sentence fragment. The next one says we need to say which one is a completed sentence. It has both subject and it has a verb. So it says electric eels stun prey with an intense electrical charge, or Pamela fulfilling a dream of hiking to the top of Mount St. Helens. And if we were to select the complete sentence, whether it is option 1, electrical eel stun prey with an intense electrical charge, or option 2, Pamela fulfilling a dream of hiking to the top of Mount Celines. And we can go with option 1. We need to say which one is a completed sentence, has a subject and has a verb. So we need to say which one is a complete sentence. It has a subject and. All right. So now we need to also say, is it a complete sentence or a fragment? All right. So that is a complete sentence. Remember, a complete sentence has both subject and it has a verb. All right. We need to complete the next one with a complete sentence. Has a subject and it has a verb. All right. And remember, we said that when it comes to like a sentence, right? A complete sentence has a subject and it has a verb, whereas with a predicate, it's either missing a subject or it's missing a verb or it's missing a helping verb. There's just words that is missing. So now we're going on to, yeah, okay, let's do this last one. It says, which is a complete sentence. At dawn, the sailors hoisted the cargo onto the ship, or option two, the undercover agent still investigating that strange case. We need to select either option one or option two. So a complete sentence. Let's go with the first one. Yes, the first one is correct. We're not going to say is it a complete sentence or is it a run on. And remember, a run on is made up of two sentences that is basically as one. And if we want to fix the run on, we can then write it as two sentences. All right. We're not going to go over what a sentence is, what a fragment is, or what a run on is, right? Let us go straight to our test. All right, so we need to say what is a run-on sentence. Remember, a run-on sentence, it is joined. It's like two sentences in one sentence. All right. And remember, when it comes to sentences, fragments, and run-ons, a sentence, it has a completed subject and it has a completed verb. All right. So we need to now, if we look at that sentence, right, or the sentences, we need to say, is it a complete sentence or a run-on? So if we look, it says we need to say, is it a sentence or a run-on? Which is a run-on? Casey is an adept skier. She has trained for many years. Or option two, red-green color blindness affects far more men than women. Which one is a run-on sentence? Remember, it is basically two sentences in one sentence. Is it Casey is an adept skier? She has trained for many years. Option one or option two. All right, and if we were to choose the correct one, then yes, it is the first one because Casey is an adept skier on its own. She has trained for many years is also, that is correct. Well done. There's two sentences in one. And look at the last one. The last one says, we need to say which one is a complete sentence, has a subject and a verb. It says, a leap year typically occurs every 4 years. Or option two, let's spruce up this room. New drapes would be an improvement. We need to select the complete sentence in that sentence. The complete sentence. Option one or option two. And if we were to choose the correct option that shows the complete sentence, then it is option one. A leap year typically occurs every 4 years. All right, so this is the end of our lesson on sentences, fragments, and run-ons. We see a completed sentence is it has a subject and it has a verb. Then we have a fragment, and a fragment is either missing a subject, it's missing a verb, or it's missing a helping verb. And a run-on sentence is made up of two sentences that is basically in one sentence. And we can fix a run-on sentence by either writing it as a compound sentence, or we can fix a run-on sentence by separating the two sentences and writing it as one sentence. All right, so this is the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for joining, and I really hope you're going to have a good evening further. So, till next time, goodbye.